Armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. Hey guys, this is Connor and Brian of the Cloud Saga Cinema Podcast, and we're going to be reviewing Christopher Nolan's Tenet today. We both got to see it in theaters. Really happy about that.
Absolutely.
This was honestly one of my most anticipated films of the entire year.
Oh, easily.
I mean, it's Nolan, so can't really go wrong with that.
Nah.
But the lead up, all the marketing and stuff, you knew it was something about time, right? You knew it was going to be about time because Nolan hates time. Nolan hates how time works, so, you know.
In every single movie, so he always has to mess with it.
Mm-hmm. Brian, what are your general thoughts before we get kind of deep into it?
Well, first off, I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely enjoyed it. I believe it's the best film I've seen this year.
For sure. That's same way.
Like it was such a spectacle. It was the biggest spectacle of the year. It's definitely, I think once the year ends, we're going to look back on it as the biggest film that's come out this year. I don't think anything will come close to matching.
Maybe Dune.
Maybe Dune, if it comes out this year.
Yeah.
But just in terms of spectacle and just how massive, like, the film was.
Oh, the scale was, yeah.
You saw how big the scale was. It was definitely the biggest film of the year, and I believe it was the best film of the year. Just on almost every aspect. We'll get more into that in a minute or two, but that's what I thought of it.
Yeah, same. I liked it. I thought it was good. And we talked about this after we saw the movie. I think compared to, if I'm comparing it based off of what I've seen this year, it's clearly the best movie I've seen this year and the most well-made, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've seen something this year that was great and looked that good or was that well made. So for me, this is like, I mean, it's better than the films I've seen this year, but I don't think it's, if we're going based off of what happened last year or something like that, I don't think it compares to like top 20 of last year. But for sure this year, easily one of my favorites.
Definitely. Yeah. Very, if it's not number one, it's very close to number one.
We might get into some minor spoilers at some point, maybe, potentially, if something slips out. I'm sorry. So right here, spoiler warning for Tenet. All right. So do you want to start with some positives that you had for it?
Sure. So I'll start off by saying probably my favorite part about it is that it had some of the best action scenes of the year, if not the best action scenes of the year, because I have never seen anything like it. It's never nothing like that has ever been done with what they did.
Definitely, for sure.
It's
because it's like you have one person going backwards, but then you have like John David Washington going forwards, and it looks really weird on screen. And
it does.
So it will. I think for some people it might be jarring. And I've heard people complain that it's kind of hard to follow, which I completely understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's never been done before. This is the first time it's ever been done. And it could be done again. Yeah, it could be done again at some point. But right now, this is brand new to everyone. So I could see why it's a bit, like, definitely complex. But I could see why it's a bit, like, hard to follow at times.
Yeah.
My next point was basically what we just talked about. The normal people fighting the inverted was amazing. I thought that
was probably my favorite part of the entire thing. Specifically the last like 30, 40 minutes of it are
definitely
probably the best. I don't know if that's because it's like the biggest spectacle of the film, but I loved the action. That's what kept me almost invested to a certain extent. For me. Can we talk about the score real
Yes.
quick? The score was easily the best of the year so far.
There's nothing that compared
I
to
cannot think of another one that was anywhere near as good.
No. It was
And it isn't Hans Zimmer.
No, it was Ludwig Göransson, I think you say his name.
Who's done Black Panther.
He did Mandalorian.
Yep. He actually worked on Community.
Oh, okay.
So he had an early start on that. But
he's basically the next Hans Zimmer, so
yeah.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. He's already an Oscar winner. For sure.
So
but no, I will say, like, what was so cool about it was it matched what the scene was going on, because I felt like the notes were going backwards when like a scene was inverted as well.
Yeah, when inversion was happening, the score was inverted.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool to hear. I also say, in my personal opinion, some of the cinematography was the year's best.
It's shot on film, 70 millimeter, I think.
Yeah, like 70
Nolan
millimeter
always
IMAX.
uses that for everything.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't, I will say, in previous films of Nolan specifically, the ratio always changes, like in between scenes. He'll have scenes where it's like IMAX and it's not IMAX, and it's like it could just be a regular conversation, and there's like one side of the scene shot in IMAX, and then the other one's not. In this, I didn't notice it at all. I was not distracted by it at all. Something like Dunkirk, or I mean, some of the scenes in the Batman films are guilty of that. But no, I will say Nolan knocked it out of the park visually and action set piece wise. That's the biggest praise I can give the film.
It has like some of the best shot action scenes of the year, and like switching the ratios, he gets away with it because you're so distracted by everything that's happening on the screen. This is another one that Nolan likes to do, where people, like almost every other filmmaker, likes to build up characters and build up the plot and then kick it off. As soon as the runtime starts, the plot starts.
Yeah.
Like, it kicks right into it.
We can get into the negatives with that, because I have an issue with that.
Okay.
Where the pacing seems really strange in this one. So
it does.
It kicks off, you're immediately in the action. And I love that, because Nolan does that with a lot of his, at times he does that. Specifically, like something like Batman or The Dark Knight Rises, you get right into it. But it's almost like Nolan forgets it's an action movie, because you have action scene, and then you have, of course, and this is my biggest issue with this, and this is my big issue with a lot of Nolan stuff, is there's so much exposition happening in this. And it just, and Brian, as you said after the movie, people walking around in expensive suits, just talking.
It's the same exact thing as Inception.
Yeah. And it didn't bother me until I was about halfway through. And I'm like, okay, well, this is just like the 9th exposition scene that I've had here.
Yeah.
And I can see where people like that, because it kind of like, it's not all like action, because that's not really what Nolan does. But it's distracting when it's every 20 minutes. Yeah, every 20 minutes, you have to have an action scene to remind the audience that, oh, by the way, this is an action movie.
Yeah.
So, but then when you have an exposition scene, the sound mixing is god awful. So I can't understand half of what people are saying.
Yeah, because sometimes there's even like points where, like, as great as the score is, there's times when the score is so booming, you can't hear what people
anything.
are saying.
You cannot hear anything. You can't hear like gunshots or like plates breaking or something like that. I mean, we saw it in IMAX, so that might be like a little.
That might be a reason, but if it happens on a home release, then we'll know that actually happened.
That's what Nolan does. So Nolan will have like a shitty sound mix, and then for the Blu-ray release for like VOD, he fixes it. So I don't know if that's like Because he's been guilty of it before. This is not the first time.
No.
Dunkirk,
absolutely
Interstellar,
did it.
those two are the most recent ones, and those are probably the most guilty of it. So I felt like I was like, specifically scenes with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who just shows up towards the end, exposition, and I missed half of it because I don't know what he's saying, because you have the score mixed with like explosions and gunshots and like just stuff happening in the background.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna rewatch. I'm going to see it again this weekend in hopes that I can understand it a little better. But that was my biggest issue, the exposition. What do you feel about the acting? Because, you know, we talked about this after the movie a little bit, how you said it, where you felt like anyone could play any character. Yeah. And I completely agree.
I was explaining this to some of my friends where, so if you just swapped, like, for example, you swapped John David Washington and Robert Pattinson in this movie. If those actors swapped roles, it'd be the same exact movie.
Yeah.
Because
and I think Pattinson auditioned for that role originally.
Okay. Like, it doesn't seem like Nolan tailored his script for any actor in particular. It was just the characters more or less kind of felt like set pieces.
Yeah,
in a way.
They're kind of just like roadblocks so the plot can move along.
Yeah, and I mean that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, the movie works, but there were no bad performances in this movie, but in my opinion,
it's nothing memorable though.
No.
If you look at something like Interstellar, where Matthew McConaughey gives one of my favorite performances of his. I mean, Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Nolan has his fair share of memorable performances in his filmography.
Yeah.
So I'm excuse me. I'm confused on why this, probably his most hyped up one because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Why he's focusing on the spectacle of it, and like it's so strange to me why he can't write it in a way that I care about the characters, because I don't. And there was a line in it.
And
there was a line in it where I think it was Elizabeth Debicki's like, or no, someone goes, well, everyone in the world's going to die. And then Elizabeth Debicki goes, and my son. And I'm like, Chris, please, I don't care. I've seen the son like twice on screen. So, I mean, what's keeping it from being one of Nolan's best for me is just like, it's cliche. Especially like Kenneth Branagh, I get his name wrong, but Russian mobster / terrorist was the most cliche, stupid thing. And then there's a plot point / plot convenience towards the end of it. And you remember it, where I was kind of like, I did a little reaction, and it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be in there.
No, it just kind of shows up.
And then it goes away less than a minute later. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I really want to like this. I really do. But there are things that are keeping it away from being great, fantastic. You know?
Yeah. No, I could see why. It's basically, I think I've talked about all my negatives. Yeah, too much exposition. Score was louder than the dialogue at times. Acting wasn't standout. Anyone could have played any of the roles, and the pacing is very up and down. Those are all my negatives for it, honestly.
I have one more question to end it off, kind of, before we give our scores.
Yeah.
Do you see this getting any Oscar nominations? Because the more I thought about it, I'm really like, I don't know. I just don't see it getting anything.
Yes, I see it getting a few. So I see it getting, well, I don't see it getting any acting nominations.
It is not. If it gets an acting nomination, I would be the most surprised person in the world.
Like, I wouldn't be upset, but like, it was just
I'd be very confused.
I see it getting best film editing. I see it getting that. Definitely not sound mixing or sound editing.
No way.
Definitely not. Score. I see it getting best score. You could argue best cinematography at times. And this is the big one. I see it potentially getting the best picture nod, but no best director, no best original screenplay.
Nolan is done. There's no way Nolan is getting it.
I don't think he's not. I don't think he's getting the director nod, but there's the slight, because it's happened before where a film will get nominated, but the director and whoever wrote it won't get it.
I think it all depends on what comes out the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And how other films are received.
I think
I think the only thing for me personally would be score, because I want the score on vinyl.
Yeah, the score is insane.
The score is awesome. I've been listening it. Have you been listening to it since?
I have not.
Been listening to the plan? I've been listening to the plan. That one could get nominated for best original song. Oh, for sure. Yo, if Travis wins an Oscar, I'm gonna lose it. No, but I liked it. I respect Nolan so much for making something so complicated, and it really ties up pretty perfectly. There's really no loose ends.
No, and they could make a sequel if they wanted to.
They could. They leave it open. It's not really a spoiler because people thought that it was going to do that too, where it was a sequel to Inception, which, spoiler alert, it's not. They get that right out of the way. It is not. So I liked it. I don't think it's Nolan's best. I don't think it's his worst. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay. I've been on the fence lately, and I have more positives than I have negatives, and my negatives, for the most part, it's very like half and half. Like, it's half technical stuff and then half actual film stuff. So if it's my year's best, I have to give it like a 9 out of 10 for me. That's what I'm giving it.
All right. So that was our Tenet review. Stay tuned for more reviews and more podcasts in the future. Brian, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It was awesome going back to the theater for the first time since March.
I would love to go again. I need to.
I need to too. Fair warning for everyone that wants to. I don't necessarily suggest going out and doing it. We kind of researched it before going out. We made sure that there wasn't going to be a lot of people in the theater, which there wasn't. I think we were in the biggest IMAX theater I've ever been in.
Yeah.
There was about 20 people in about 500 seats or something.
Yeah, it was like a 570 something max capacity.
Yeah. And there was like 20 people in the theater.
Yeah.
They had signs everywhere. They had hand
sanitizer.
Yeah. So it's
everything
safe. It is safe. They have a plan in place, but I'm not telling whoever's watching this to go out to a theater.
Yeah.
Because COVID is still a thing. It's still
it absolutely is.
So go at your own risk. We went at our own risk. We wore masks and everything, but
yeah.
We got to go to theater. We're happy about that. But
absolutely.
It's been a pleasure, Brian.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.